When I was 20 years old, I moved into a place to live by myself for the first time. It was an apartment with 8 units in the building. This apartment was the cheapest of every available place for rent on the market at the time. I had a full-time job, but I didn't make much, and I really rushed myself to move out of my parents' house before I was actually ready. On the day I moved in, I set up a futon couch in the living space and hung up my small TV, and that was pretty much it. I didn't have anything else aside from the basics, and I didn't have the money to buy more stuff. The futon was my bed for the time being, so I slept out in the open on that first night. I was woken up at 6 a.m. by someone knocking at my door. I looked over at the door, not wanting to get up, but once they knocked again, I realized they weren't going to leave. There was an older man, mid-40s I'd say, standing outside my unit. He was just looking at the door, waiting for me to answer, and seemed to have no intent on leaving. I opened up and asked what he was here for. "I wanted to introduce myself. I live in the unit one door down," he said, pointing to the door at the end of the hall. I smiled and said thanks and all that, then told him I was busy and had to get back. I closed the door and went back to my couch. I had the next 3 days off from work, and all I wanted to do was sleep in and enjoy my new apartment alone. I fell back asleep, not waking up until midday. After showering, I grabbed my keys and headed down to my car to pick up some food. As I was backing out of my parking space, I saw someone watching me from a window. They looked away once I looked at them, which made me uncomfortable. I counted the windows up to the 3rd story, which was the same floor as mine, and knowing that there were 2 units per floor, it had to be the same man who'd come by that morning. It left me with a weird feeling, but I pulled out and left to get food. When I got back to the apartment, I ate while watching TV and spent the rest of the day on the couch. I stayed up till 11 when my eyes started getting heavy. I turned off all the lights and laid down on the futon. But something caught my attention. There was this red light coming from somewhere in the kitchen. It wasn't too bright or anything, but it was blinking on and off, which became an annoyance for me. I got up and went into the kitchen, thinking it was going to be the dishwasher or microwave, but neither of them had lights. As I was looking at every appliance, the light blinked off and stayed off. I was so tired I didn't even think about it until the morning. With all the lights on now, I did another quick search, and to my surprise, I found something. There was this small thing wedged between my refrigerator and the wall. I moved the fridge and pulled it out. It was a camera. A really tiny one, but it was 100% a camera of some kind. I stood there looking at it for a couple of minutes until someone knocked on my door. I checked, and it was the same older man from the other day. I opened the door cautiously. The man said he was seeing how I was, but he sounded and looked nervous. He had a strange smile and just seemed off. He took a step closer to the door, and I said I was fine but was busy again today. He didn't respond after that, but instead just stood there with a strange and awkward look. I felt anticipation, like he was going to do something. He quickly shoved himself toward the door, trying to get inside. Luckily, I was stronger and pushed the door into him, keeping him out and eventually shutting the door all the way and locking it. I called the cops, and within 10 minutes, the guy was in handcuffs. When I showed the cops the camera I found, he admitted it was him without even fighting it. But after further investigation, they found cameras in 3 other units. I think by admitting to the one in my unit, he thought they would trust him and not feel the need to investigate the other units. I know it was just some sick creep who probably wouldn't have done me any real harm, but it gave me the weirdest, most unnerving feeling I'd ever had.
If you hit that like button, there's a good chance someone else's spine will get tingled by these stories.
When I turned 23, I started searching for a place to live. I was looking at renting, and with my budget, I could afford either a nice apartment or a small house in my area. I found a lot of great options for apartments, but a house just seemed so much more appealing to me for some reason. After a few months, I finally found a house that I was happy with. It was a small 2-story home with a fenced-in backyard, and it was within my budget. The inside was outdated, but not so much that it bothered me. On moving-in day, I picked up my U-Haul early in the morning and loaded my boxes and a few pieces of furniture into it. Then I drove down to the house. I was moving from living with my parents, so I didn't have much to bring. I had prepared by buying some things like kitchen utensils, but I had almost no furniture aside from a bed. When I pulled up to my new home at 8 in the morning, the neighborhood was quiet. Nobody was out, and it just felt peaceful. I was really excited. I got out and opened the garage, then hauled the boxes back and forth from the truck to the living room. This only took me 2 hours, but I had the truck booked for a whole day just in case, so I left it outside and planned to return it the following morning. I got to work right away, putting together the furniture for my bedroom. I dragged all the pieces of my bed frame upstairs and into the room, got it all put together, then went back downstairs to get my mattress. Pushing this huge, flimsy mattress up the steps by myself was not an easy task, but just as I was getting it to the top of the steps, the sound of a door slamming shut downstairs scared the life out of me. My heart was pounding out of my chest as I stood on the staircase holding the mattress up. After a minute, I quickly moved the mattress up the last few steps, then ran downstairs and looked around. I wasn't sure which door it was, or if it was a person that did it, or maybe a breeze in the house. I didn't know what to think. All I knew was that I heard a door slam shut. As I walked around downstairs, there was no evidence of anything. I mean, nothing at all. After trying to figure it out for half an hour, I gave up. There was nothing out of place or anything, so I just made sure the doors were locked, then continued with setting up my room. I got my bed together, then moved my dresser and office desk upstairs. Afterwards, I unpacked all the other boxes. By the end of the day, I had finished everything. I was proud of myself and excited for tomorrow when I had plans to go couch shopping. At 10 o'clock, I got in bed and stayed up on my phone for a while before falling asleep. When I woke up, my room was pitch black, and I was facing the wall next to my bed. I almost immediately closed my eyes again to go back to sleep until I heard the wood floorboards creak on the other side of the room. I turned over and looked with my half-opened eyes, not expecting to see anything. My eyes immediately widened. My bedroom door was open, and there was a person standing in the doorway looking at me. They looked like they were in the middle of taking a step into the room, which made the floor creak. His eyes were the only thing in the dark that stood out. They were emotionless and cold, piercing through me. After that most horrifying second of my life, he stepped back into the hallway, grabbed the door handle, and slammed it shut. I heard his footsteps run through the hallway, down the stairs, and out of the house. I thought I was going to have a heart attack, but I forced myself up and called 911. The TLDR summary for the next few days is that the police had no idea who it was, but we talked with the homeowner who I was renting from, and they said the last resident had to be evicted for not paying rent. After a few months of no contact, all of their stuff was removed from the property. From what they were saying, the guy living there never turned up. Police confirmed this, and they said there were very few records of him, and he kind of just disappeared without a trace. It's been years since then, and I obviously left that house right away, but I still wonder about it a lot. Either that person I saw was the previous tenant, or it could have been the one who made the previous tenant go missing. Either way, it was clear they didn't want me there.
Thanks for listening. If you want to help build the True Chiller community, like, subscribe, and share.